Good evening, Dhamma friends. Wish you the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem. To begin the Sutta study class, I just want to welcome you with the wholesome thoughts in mind. It is April 9th, which is Saturday. We are going to begin this evening Sutta discussion with a special discourse, a new one. Before we begin, I just want to pay our due respect to the Buddha. On behalf of all of you, I'm going to recite the Namo Tassa 3 times in Pali and in English to pay our homage to the Supreme Buddha. Let's join with me, with all the friends, to pay the respect to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened one. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened one. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened one. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dear friends, it's a pleasure to be with you this evening. The Sutta study class focuses this week a particular sutta from Sangyutta Nikaya, Salayatana Sangyutta. This particular discourse is wonderful in the sense of what we need to do to get into Noble Eightfold Path and also continue to our practice to the full enlightenment. Sometimes some discourses are difficult because of the way and also the fact they explain to us. Some discourses are easy in terms of understanding the point of Dhamma and also what has to be practiced in the discourse for us could also be easily demonstrated. So this discourse is such a one, and it is the sutta number 10 of that particular section called Asi Visopama Vagga, where we have all the similes. If I draw your attention to some other discourses in the section, I think you would get some time to read them. Simile of the lute, simile Vinopamo Sutta. So it is also a wonderful sutta to understand Dhamma. Then Kinsuka Sutta, I think we took this sutta into discussion a couple of weeks ago. Then we have other suttas like, let me see, simile of the six animals. So then the shed of Bali, and so these suttas are really good to read and get things cleared very much. In Majjhima Nikaya and Digha Nikaya, you read bare Dhamma elements without examples sometimes, without analogies. But in Sangyutta Nikaya, it is a rich, very powerful section of the Buddha's teaching that provide us some deep Dhamma elements with similes and analogies and metaphors. So if you are interested in reading these courses, go to this sutta in the internet and you can find the other suttas. One of the website that you can refer to read suttas is Sutta Central, and just you type the sutta's name if you know in the Google, so that you can find the translation of Bhikkhu Bodhi, Bhikkhu Thanissaro, Bhikkhu Sujatu, some other monks and even lay people, and you can find those important contributions made by different scholars on different suttas and topics of Dhamma discussion. So there are many sources available. So read as much as you can. And one of our friends who joined today and every day asked me several days ago to tell me what translation I used in the Sutta study class. I'm sorry I could not respond to her about the translation I'm going to use for this Sutta discussion due to many things to focus here. I'm sorry about that. The translation I'm going to use is Bhikkhu Bodhis. So because I have the Samyutta Nikaya translation done by Bhikkhu Bodhi, so I am quite familiar with that, so that I'm using it. But in the internet, you can see Bhikkhu Tanissaro's translation, Bhikkhu Sujato's translation. So any translation would be good, but the one I use is Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation. So thank you very much for selecting this discourse. I cannot remember the name of our friends who selected the discourse. Anyway, thank you very much for doing that. And they had a discussion earlier with Dr. Pial and I think somebody else before. Our friends suggested me that discourse through email. Anyway, so let's go into the discourse. This sutta, as I said, is in Salayatana, Samyutta Nikaya, Salayatana Samyutta, and the Vagga, the section called Asivisopama. It is interesting the way the Buddha started the discourse. Without that introductory part, it is recorded here in the translation. So I'm leaving the introduction for the discourse by Venerable Ananda. Bhikkhus, suppose a man with limbs wounded and festering would enter a wood of thorny reeds. It is important to read this first paragraph. That's why I'm reading it. So the Buddha said here a type of incident that could happen to a person. A man with limbs wounded and festering would enter a wood of thorny reeds. Suppose somebody has wounds and all these problems with the wound, and goes to a forest area where there are so many dangerous plants and thorny bushes and so forth. And the kusa thorn would pick his feet, and the reed blades would slash him limbs. Kusatana, I think that their leaves are very sharp, and you can injure it if you go faster through these kusatana. And there are several other grasses similar to that. So this is called kusa. Thus, that man would thereby experience even more pain and displeasure. Yeah, he has wounds on his legs, and now he's walking through grass area where those blade-like grass cut his those wounds, so that the pain is been increasing because of the those leaves, blade-like leaves. What he experiences pain and sorrow and displeasure. So to bhikkhus, some bhikkhus here gone to the village or the forest, meet someone who reproach him thus. This venerable one acting in such a way, behaving in such a way, is a foul village thorn. Having understood him thus as a thorn, one should understand restraint, non-restraint. One should understand restraint and non-restraint. So similar to that particular person who get a lot of pain walking through that grass area, a bhikkhu who goes to the village with unrestrained senses will be is being reprimanded, is being criticized. And it will be a thorn, it will be a similar experience to this bhikkhu, so that his he should understand the sense restraint. So when that man goes to the grass area, the thorny bush area with wound, what kind of pain he could experience is cutting his legs, wounds and severe pain is there always for him. And if you haven't practiced sense restraint and still go to the area where people have many involvement activities, you are going to be a victim of sensual pleasures, victim of other unwholesome state, because you have senses unguarded. And how bhikkhus is their non-restraint? Here, having seen a form with the eye, a bhikkhu is intent upon a pleasing form and repelled by a displeasing form. Yeah, so now Buddha is going to elaborate the point, first point over here, how one is not having restraint, or in other words, how is one having non-restraint? So having seen a form with the eye, which is simple. So, when you see something, your mind as something pleasant. You have dislikeness. You dislike for something unpleasant, because as you see, he is not having any restraint, sense restraint, so that his mind is seeking only for happy and pleasant thing. When he encounters something unpleasant to him, he expressed displeasure for that. He dwells without having set off mindfulness of the body with a limited mind, and he does not understand as it is that liberation of the mind, liberation by wisdom, wherein those evil unwholesome states cease without reminder. So because of not having any restraint on what he sees from eyes, he is going to live with all kinds of unwholesome thought. In other words, he doesn't have the mindfulness of the body. He doesn't have mindfulness on those factors that are necessary and unnecessary. As a result, if there is something called arahantship, something called liberation from mind and liberation from wisdom, it is not available for him. It is going away from him. Whereas otherwise, in other words, he develops unwholesome state so much. Likewise, now this is with regard to seeing. Now, likewise, with regard to hearing, with regard to smelling, with regard to tasting, with regard to touching, and with regard even to thinking, this particular monk or lay person or whoever it is, he's going to have unwholesome state in mind, because your mind is seeking pleasure on seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, and even thinking. Using any senses, he or she is expecting to have only pleasant things. If he or she meets something unpleasant, he is going to have anger, frustration, repulsive nature of his mind, which is not good according to the Dham, which is not what we expect based on the Dham. So as a result, he or she is creating some unwholesomeness in his mind. This is how the nuns restrain. Indriya Sangvara is the positive practice we talk about, and without Indriya Sangvara or lack of, it's not lack of. When we say lack of, he or she has some restraint, but when we call non-restraint, he doesn't have any of those things. So that is how. Suppose now Buddha is giving a very nice simile here. So that is suppose a man would catch 6 animals. Thanks to Dr. Pial for making that pictorious explanations with some writing. And I also made one, but I'm not going to share it today because it is in the other computer. So this simile with 6 animals is a real examples to show how these 6 senses work when it is when they are supported by mindfulness and when they are not supported by mindfulness is really pictured in the discourse. And thanks to Dr. Pial for making that picture, which I use in the flyer. Suppose because a man would catch 6 animals with different domain and different feeding grounds and tie them by a strong rope. Just keep this simile in mind always, because there are such similes that the Buddha talk about with regard to senses and sensory experiences. And one example is the simile of the jackal and the tortoise. Yes, and then the other discourse we talk about recently, I think, the hawks and the quail, and these similes are really nice, and we can remember the Dhamma very easily with the stories and with the similes. So 6 animals are being talked about with different domains in the sutta. The man catch these 6 animals. Who are they? A snake, crocodile, a bird, a dog, a jackal, and a monkey. Tie each by a strong rope. Having done so, he would tie the ropes together with the knot in the middle and release them. So now, those 6 animals with different domains and different feeding ground would each pull in the direction of it on feeding ground and domain. So the man who catch the 6 animals, tie them into 6 ropes, and the other end of the rope tie together. So you can imagine what is going to happen. So the 6 animals have different domains. Here it is said the snake would pull one way, thinking, let me enter an anthill. The crocodile would pull another way, thinking, let me enter the water. The bird will pull to the sky, and dog to the village, and the jackal to the jungle, and the monkey to go up to the branches of the tree. So because these 6 animals have different domain, snake, the bird, and then crocodile, the dog, jackal, and the monkey. So what happened to these 6 animals? If because everybody tries to drag each other, each animals drag the 5 and try to drag other 5 animals, but it's in vain, because animals like crocodile, monkey, I would say, then dog, they are physically strong, and jackal. So somehow everyone get exhausted at the end, and the one who is stronger would pull everyone towards its domain. So having said this, Buddha said that similarly, because when a bhikkhu has not developed and cultivated mindfulness directed to the body, the eye pulls in the direction of agreeable form and disagreeable form are repulsive, so forth. So similarly, if a monk has not developed mindfulness on body, kaya gata sati. His eyes falls in the direction of agreeable form. His eyes means his mind is now not in restraint through about anything he or she sees, so that his mind is going to attach to anything pleasant through eyes. So because this person has not developed mindfulness on body. When we talk about mindfulness on body, here what we mean in Kayagata Sati, you have to say if you look at the Kayagata Sati Sutta of the Majjhima Nikaya, there are so many similar Dhamma elements in Kaya Anupassana and elsewhere also. So Kaya Anupassana, Kayagata Sati means the way you understand your body as it is. When we say as it is, you cannot say it is beautiful, it is ugly, it is mine, it is not mine. You cannot say any of those states. If you see your body as it is, what you can say yourself when you look at your body, it is only a body that has these body parts, that has these that has the nature of this element. And you say, you compare your body to a dead body, even though it is walking, sitting, and lying down and stand, it's quite similar to a dead body. So you see the truth of your body when you see your body as it is. When the monk or the nun or layperson has not practiced that type of mindfulness, definitely he's going to attach to whatever he sees, and he's going to fight with anything he dislikes or she dislikes. Similar to the other it's similar other teachings also here. If you hear something, you are going to attach to, you are going to get them and attach to. So this is how it is said, bhikkhus, when a bhikkhu has not developed and cultivated the mindfulness directed to the body, his ears pulls in the direction of agreeable sound, disagreeable sound are repulsive. The nose pulls in the direction of agreeable smell, and disagreeable odor are repulsive, something like that. So the reason why this happened, there is no mindfulness on body. There is no any other restraint practices, any other practices that restrain your mind. So basically, you are going to do this when you are not developing your mind on the necessary qualities with regard to Kaya Anupassana or Kayagata Sati. It is in such a way that there is non-restraint. Still, the Buddha explained the way of non-restraint. Just like these 6 animals, work so hard to drag and go to their inhabitant places, and nobody can do that except the strongest one. Your mind is dragging yourself towards those sensual pleasures. If not, you have unpleasant feeling, you are angry, you have hate in your mind, you have that sort of unpleasant feeling in your mind because of not having any restraint, right? And how, because is the restraint is taking place. So now we know how non-restraint takes place, and how we can discuss the restraint and how we are going to have it. Here, having seen a form with the eye, a bhikkhu is not intent upon please inform with the please inform, and not repelled by a displeasing form. Actually, the secret of the success of sense restraint is to understand what I see and why I see this, and am I seeing the truth or just a reflection of certain perception? Because when I see something in front of me, there is something solid moving. For example, if I see a cow, and cow is an animal, and it is true that there is a cow externally existing. However, how do I see this a cow? When I open my eyes, so the mind can get these colors. Actually, it is eyes do that for the mind, but it is mind basically taking these information and create that perception, feeling, and other sankharas and everything. And immediately at the same time, this likeness and dislikeness have been created. So if you know this way of living by humans, by other living beings, you have a type of potential energy to stop that craving, that anger, that ignorance about it, right? So sense restraint could happen when one understands this whole process and put some effort to stop craving. And at the same time, it could happen due to the strong sense of samvega, sense of urgency towards certain happenings in life. For example, if one experience losing of loved ones one after the other, he might bed up with those sensual pleasures anymore and would like to stay away from all these things, like Patachara, Kisagotami, and many other individuals who suffer a lot in their lay life in sensual world, found the escape from it, from such suffering after that with the support of the Buddha. The essence for them to shift their life towards the spiritual practice happened with such sense of Dhamma Samvega. The path was cleared for them because of such terrible incident. I'm not saying that there are only one way, but there are many other ways. However, the very important thing is to understand what is happening to me after I am hanging on to this. Do I get my mind polluted by this? If there is, nirvana for particular people, if people understand that we have such a state called peaceful state called nirvana, and if there are stages called apayas and suffering, that is one thing for people to come to this kind of training principle. But otherwise, when everything is going well, they enjoy sensual pleasures, no problem at all in the office, at home, in the road, everything is going well. So people might be in the hands of unwholesomeness or mara, because they are provided with everything. They do not think that things go wrong. Jara, Vyadi could come to us. They never thought about such things. Therefore, people live in ignorance. When people live in ignorance, they appreciate what is these senses provided with. But however, the bhikkhu or the layperson who understand the whole scope of life, they would start the escape from suffering, the causes of suffering, abandon of suffering started with this kind of sense restraint. When we see a picture from eyes, we are not going to create either pleasantness or unpleasantness, because both are gateways to full-fledged mass of suffering. So the wise individuals never go into these extreme. So here it is said, having seen a form with the eye, a bhikkhu is not intent upon a pleasant form and not repelled by a displeasing form. He dwells, having set up mindfulness of the body with a measureless mind, and he understands as it really is that liberation of mind, liberation by wisdom, wherein those evil unwholesome state cease without reminder. So this person is not looking for anything, any pleasantness or unpleasantness by seeing. Isn't this good for us? Because we have to set our mind that I'm not looking for any pleasantness or unpleasantness over seeing this. Suppose you are going to go somewhere to meet somebody, and if you plan ahead of this meeting that I'm not going to expect anything pleasant or unpleasant here, and even if something pleasant or unpleasant happens, I'm not going to react to it. So you are ready with that. You are ready with the Dhamma to face the challenge, so that when things are pleasant for everybody else, and you take it as only a seeing, only a hearing, only a tasting, so that pleasantness is not built in your mind. And if something happened in an unpleasant way, everybody get mad, everybody criticize it, but you have that plan in your mind not to react negatively towards those unpleasant things, so that you get out of those problematic, chaotic situation spiritually, because you are not going to have any of those things as you plan it well. So like that, in my understanding, noble disciples always are mindful about what they are going to see, what they are going to hear. And if something suddenly happens, they still have that essence of Dhamma in mind with the sense restraint. So I think Buddha is trying to suggest us here that, okay, if you follow this method of reflection, when seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, and thinking happens, you are going to have mindfulness on body, and immeasurable, what do you call, liberation of mind, liberation of wisdom, which is the arahantship in both ways, so that the unwholesome state have been completely gone. Wherein those evil unwholesome states cease without reminder. So having heard a sound, having taste a flavor, having smell something good, having thought about something, in any occasion, in any occasion you use your senses, you can be away from expecting anything pleasant or unpleasant. So people have expectations, people have hopes, people have desires. So from the morning to the end of the day, and from the end of the day to next day morning, we have been creating so many hopes. We think that temple event should go as we plan, so we are creating so many thoughts on it. And you think about your jobs and children and day-to-day activities. So it's okay for us to plan ahead and have everything ready. We foresee the future like that. But attachment to those future things is different from the previous one. So we can expect that those craving, ignorance, and related unwholesomeness could be stopped if we have that clear mind. What do we see, and why do we see? What happened to me when I see this? And is that beneficial for my mental peace and happiness? And if not, what could happen to me? So have this investigation quite often, so that you may not be able to strive so hard to get into the right points in the Dhamma. So having said that, Buddha said, suppose the same simile is turned other way around. Suppose a man would catch 6 animals with different domains and different feeding ground and tie them by a strong rope. Now he would catch these are the same animals: snake, crocodile, a bird, dog, then jackal, and a monkey. They are tied by a one rope, and the other end of the ropes is tied to a post. It is said here, yeah, post or pillar. Imagine that you have a huge tree, and each animal is tied to that tree, right? So that these animals go around the pillar or the post, assuming that they can, go to their places of living. However, we know the fact that they go around. Perhaps if the rope is not turning towards the animal goes, it becomes shorter and shorter, and they do not know how to untie it. They do not know how to, they somehow coil it and came to the root of the tree, but they do not know how to go back to the same place and keep the same distance of the rope, so that they are in big trouble now. Buddha said that these 6 animals are now tired of walking here and there, and now they are they are next closer to the trunk, and each animal is tired. So and now these 6 animals become worn out and fatigued, and they would stand close to the post on pillar. They would sit down there, they would lie down there. So to bhikkhus. So you see what happened to the animal. So to bhikkhus, when a bhikkhu has developed and cultivated mindfulness directed to the body, the eye does not pull in the direction of agreeable forms, nor are disagreeable form repulsive. The ear and the nose and the tongue and the body and the mind. With regard to the 6 senses, this monk has restrained. This monk has understood and practice mindfulness on body practice. Because of that, he has that mind which is not seeking pleasantness or unpleasantness over sensory experiences. A strong post and pillar, this bhikkhu is a designation for mindfulness directed to the body. Therefore, bhikkhus, uh, you should train yourself. Thus, we will develop and cultivate mindfulness directed to the body. Make it our vehicle, make it our basis, stabilize it, exercise ourselves in it, and fully perfect in it. Thus should you train yourself. So Buddha ended the discourse by saying that you should keep in mind that mindfulness on body is a very direct road or path towards nirvana, because there you developed all the wonderful qualities. If you say the Kayagata Sati Sutta, stages by stages, mental development is explained very well, and the one who practice it into highest extent can also develop those supernormal powers. Samadhi achieved through Kayagata Sati is stronger also, because I think you have put your full potential energy towards those physical aspect as well as mental behavior. So I think based on Kayagata Sati Sutta, it is one of the easiest ways to defeat the Mara, because you have attached to your body. We all accept the fact that there is someone or something going on that came from previous lives, and now it is going somewhere. So it's easier for people to fabricate stories like that. Due to ignorance, they do it. But if you see your body as it is, there is nothing like that that goes from here to there. But what happened is a combination of various parts and particles is there, and with conscious mind we are raising our hands for talking and scratching our backs, and we are moving. That's the my mental behavior in the body, about the body. So if one understands this true nature, he is slowly by however step by step he comes to a point where he doesn't want any enjoyment, any unpleasantness. I think expecting pleasantness means you have 100% possibility to create unpleasant feeling. And if you live with these two feelings, it means you have neutral feelings as well. It means that you enjoy pleasant feeling and do not keep those unpleasant feeling and neutral feeling, which means a weak point of your wisdom. You have been caught into sensual pleasures, right? So this sutta is uttered by the Buddha to a group of bhikkhus. In my understanding, when you see the simile and the Dhamma with that, it's very helpful for meditators to remind themselves that this is how the mental impurities come in, and this is how our mind is clean by those unwholesome states. Clean, we physically, mentally, verbally, become clean when one understand this kind of ways of pollution of our mind. So I think this sutta is such a wonderful, one with regard to the Dhamma Buddha explained. I didn't go to explain much of it. Just I read the sutta, and the two similes are very important. In one simile, the animals are the same. In one simile, you take ropes for each animals and tie them together. 6 animals are on 6 the 6 directions, and they tie each rope, and the end of each rope tie together. So the weak animals are going towards the stronger animals when they drag, and it's quite similar to us when we do not have sense restraint. One of the senses is always dominated by our mind, so that the mind is getting information for sensual pleasures, and unrestrained is such that you don't have any discipline, so you are always going to enjoy your senses. That is your wish, that is your plan, that is what you are thinking from the morning to the end, how to enjoy myself, either with seeing, hearing, tasting, or whatever ways. And when it comes to the second simile, the animals are tied by a rope to a post or the pillar or a tree. Now 6 animals cannot go anywhere, stronger, and even the strongest one. So everybody is tried by going around the tree, but at the end they came to the root of a tree because of constant walking around the tree, and at the end they are tired and they cannot do anything to get out of it, so that they lie down over there because they cannot go. Similarly, when you apply the Dhamma, when sensory experiences come in, such as mindfulness on body, mindfulness on what you see, and we can say this, that you have yoniso manasikara, you have that attentive mind, so that you infiltrate, you do not let your unwholesome thoughts infiltrate your mind. You have closed the gate for unwholesomeness, so that you have a peaceful mind. So when you do that, according to the Sutta, you are practicing Cheto Vimutti and Panya Vimutti. In other words, this is the beginning of getting into Samadhi levels, and also, destruction of craving and attachment, ignorance could happen as a result of this constant mindfulness on body. So basically, Buddha suggested us here to be mindful of the senses and their function, and overall what they are doing to our progressive Dhamma practices. And again, it is a matter of understanding. So having said that, I just want you to speak. Dr. Pial has raised his hand. Please talk. So everybody else also can take the opportunity after Pial or whoever talks. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Dr. Pial.
Bande, the animals, now when they pull, according to the metaphor, actually they can't pull all in a given moment. Practically only one animal can pull at one direction, but it happens so rapidly, right? So for your right now, your ear is pulling to my sound, right? Then again, your mind is pulling to your thought as you think, right? So it's kind of rotating around. So whoever the most powerful, say, eventually we get caught to whatever you're, say, watching something on your computer or a phone, then your eye will pull. So you're kind of distracted with all the sounds, the taste, whatever, but you're pulled through that one animal. In other words, one sense and sensory object, right? Eventually, and then you kind of course, you probably rotate it around with the mind and mind objects too at the same time. So my question is now, this is a kind of, I mean, you need sati sampajanya as well as mindfulness and clear comprehension, plus yoniso manasikara at this level to really see this happening, probably more through kind of meditation. But the idea is this: in the second metaphor, it's kind of a tied to a pole. The pole is a kayanupassana, but kayanupassana, say for example, one is kayagata sati, could be kayanupassana from, for example, breath meditation. But in this situation, I think the idea is maybe you are trading the superior pleasure, pleasant abidings here and now, like kind of some sort of jhana. Otherwise, this is your trading off for a better one, and therefore the eye pulling becomes very weak, right? Because you have a higher pull here. So therefore you can let go of the eye pulling or the ear pulling or whatever the animals try to go. In other words, the sense and sensory objects. So you're going off the hindrances. You're turning off the hindrances, and then going into some sort of jhanic experience or better pleasure. And therefore, and from there onwards, you can lead to insight or release at the later stage. But it's a kind of a trick, kayanupassana, kayagata sati, to get you to jhana state, so that the eye pulling becomes very like an inferior pleasure, or the ear pulling. And does it kind of make kind of a sense that the whole explanation? I don't know, it's too confusing.
Indeed, that's true. What you can do with the sense restraint is to get your mind into jhanic experiences. With regard, when your senses are working, what you can do is to let your mind know that this is happening. As you said, as you added sati sampajanya and yoniso manasikara, and these are the elements of Dhamma could come and support for sense restraint. And then according to many other discourses, practicing the satipatthana in full could happen when one understands when one has the sense restraint. So yeah, you are right. To cut the path to samadhi, you have to have this training. As a result, suppose you see a picture, you see something when you go out and you understand that this is only a seeing, this is only something that provokes craving and greed and attachment. So you quickly understand it. It means your sense restraint. How could that happen? Because your mind was attentive and mindful, and yoniso manasikara was active there in your mind, so that your mind is not appreciating to get it. You see the policy of it, you see the problem of it. So it does not mean that you immediately go into first jhana by doing that, but uh, decreasing of hindrances is taking place, and the quality of samadhi is building in your mind, in the sense of allowing you to do more with the samadhi. For example, suppose we walked on a busy street or looking for someone. Suppose we are going to meet one of our friends in the middle of the city through busy street. We see many things: TV screen, shopping malls, coffee shops, singing, dancing on both sides. We encounter all these things, but we made our mind that they are all seeing, they are all amusing thing for many people, but not for me, because I know they are fleeting, they are fleeting nature. So that you are not disturbed at that moment. What you have in your mind is that sati sampajanya, yoniso manasikara, and type of mindfulness on body. It does not mean that you are in the first jhana, similar to a person who sat under a tree on a cushion and meditate for first jhana. But you have jhanic qualities there, because you have restrained your mind into a greater extent, so that you are not being a victim of sensual pleasures. In other words, decreasing of five hindrances is taking place with that observation, because you see what you see, and you know what happened to your mind if you if you keep your mind unguarded. So I don't have anything to add to what you said. What you said is okay for me and very true. So what I'm saying is the same thing from other words. Yes, the simile is only for understanding what exactly happened to us if we do not have sense restraint, and you are going to make everything a mess unless you have sense restraint. Now we understand that there is no clear, there is no beginning on the noble eightfold path. So you have to do this first couple of steps in order to get into the uh, full practice on noble eightfold path. So in the same section, Salayatana Sangyutta, Buddha has clearly mentioned that these six sense restraint or Indriya Sangvara is leading you to have three things. That is Vachi, Kaya, Mano, Sucharita, the good behavior of body and your words and mind. Three action could be accurate when you have sense restraint. And then when you do the second thing, that is three type of peaceful behavior, you are going to have this full practice on for foundation of mindfulness. Then the seven factors of enlightenment, so forth. So there is a particular way to proceed on the noble eightfold path, and that start from the sense restraint. I think when we say eyes pulls towards pleasant feeling, means not this physical light, not this physical nose, tongue, but the mind attached to seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling is not disciplined, so that my, uh, our mind is always asking, do that, get it back, and so forth. So so therefore I think we all need to understand this mindfulness on body, mindfulness on feeling. Actually, not only that, mindfulness on mind and also phenomena. You may you should have some understanding about what exactly these hindrances do for you if you keep them. They are included into the Dhammanupasana of the Satipatthana and attachment. So not only one particular practice could one particular approach could make us complete. For example, Kaya Anupasana, Kayagata Sati is the way we approach towards the whole Dhamma element. And Anapanasati would be the way we approach to higher training. It is the tool we use. And then other set of meditation subjects would be the tools we use to get into. At the end, everyone has to do restraining their senses, no matter which meditation subject they take. And then the way to attain to the way to go into first jhana, second jhana, third jhana would be similar to each individual. The speed they go would be different from person to person, but the method would be quite similar. So let me get this question from Derek. With established mindfulness of the body, the range of the mind is invested in sorry, I was disturbed by a telephone call. With established mindfulness of the body, the range of the mind is invested in our proper domain as a practitioner. Yeah. Thus, abiding consistent within our proper domain, our mind gains strength. Yes. Kind sir, is this a reasonable interpretation? Once again, with established mindfulness of the body, the range of mind is invested in our proper domain as a practitioner. Very true. If you establish your mindfulness on body, which means you are fully aware of your body, does not mean that you see this body decay and so forth. When it is moved, when it is turned other way around, so you are mindful of each and every single function of the body, including the nature of the body. So it is your proper, some people find easy to be mindful of the elements of the body. Some people find easy to be mindfulness on walking posture or sitting posture or the different stages of dead body and so forth. Yeah, somehow one way or the other you sustain yourself on this mindfulness on body, which is your domain to get into the noble qualities. Your main practice would be that. So thus, if you stay with that kind of practices for longer period, the mind gets strength. Actually, in Magga Magga Jnana Darsana Visuddhi, so you are going to know what is path and what is not path. This is in Sapta Visuddhi with regard to Magga Magga Jnana. As I remember, it is the fifth one. So when an individual come to that state of the training, he or she knows what is right and what is wrong exactly as they are. So when you sustain on your practice, for example, mindfulness on body, you are certain that your mind is strengthening with mindfulness, concentration, wisdom. You see these noble faculties in your mind, so that your domain, your mindfulness on body is stronger, because you know that this is right path, so that your strength is spiritual strength is stronger, and your shraddha on what you are practicing is stronger. Wisdom is rising and dramatically you feel it, so that your mind is in a super state. In other words, you are in jhanic experiences very easily. Nikamalabi, Akichalabi, Akasiralabi in discourses in Buddha said in Pali, that you gain samadhi without any difficulty, with less work, without any suffering, you get samadhi. But many people try their best to be in samadhi because they haven't practiced it enough. But this particular person who sustain his practice on the kaya gata sati or whatever, is now easily doing it because he or she has done it quite often. So domain now mind gain strength. According to my understanding, this is a very good interpretation on someone who has done his basic training on senses and also the body and mind and so forth. Whatever meditation you take, you have to be very familiar with it. With it means using the technique, you are you are taking your mind into present moment. Now mind is well controlled, so you see, you hear sounds, you see your mind goes somewhere else, but you have that ability to take it back, and you feel that piti passaddi, you clearly know that they are not sensual pleasure. You don't have any desire to enjoy your senses anymore, but there is an internal peace, happiness and joy, and you distinguish that type of happiness from sensual pleasure, so that you are certain that you are in samadhi. So that mental strength is so powerful. That's why Buddha always ask disciples to meditate for samadhi, jayeta bhikkhave jayeta, because he knew that if somebody practices samadhi, samadhi, they are going to hang on to the Dhamma. However, there is a danger with samadhi. If you hang on to that particular samadhi too much without seeing its impermanent nature, you might decrease of that samadhi gradually, and you are again in the mud. So difficult to get it. However, with Dhamma knowledge and experience, and then with some support externally, you can see the impermanence of samadhi experience, impermanence of joy, so that you are reflecting the necessary things after. I think, yeah, I agree with what you said, Derek. To me, what you said is right and a reasonable interpretation. So, any other things you would like to say or add? Please take your chance. As this is from at the beginning of the training, it would be somewhat difficult, because if we are able to do this training 100% accurate, as the Buddha said, I think getting reaching into samadhi experience and experiencing other elements of saddhamma there would not that difficult. The first couple of steps of anything in this world is difficult. So sense restraint is easier to explain, and the problem is very clear with that. And we may be very find those dhamma about senses are not that philosophical, perhaps deep, profound, but it's very difficult to do, because we are living in this society with many different type of people, and we have to deal with them. And in dealing with those situations, we may be lacking of our mindfulness. When we lack of mindfulness, what happened? The unmindfulness is coming to play. Unmindfulness is always a friend of ignorance, craving, greed, and all these unwholesome states. So it's just like we have too much fire, but less water to extinguish the fire. So what happened? At the end, the fire is going everywhere. So in day-to-day life, it may be very difficult for many people, for all of us to practice 100% mindfulness on seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling. However, we can keep those important Dhamma elements in mind that, okay, the Buddha has said this is the way greed increases or arises. This is the way craving, anger, ill will, frustration arise. So you have been having some learning, so that immediately you cannot stop rising of craving, but after a while of some sort of unwholesomeness, so you notice it in your mind and try to avoid it, try to overcome it, try to push it out. So training on senses are like that. Some people are very keen to stop their unwholesome state immediately, and some people can shut the gate for unwholesome state when they come, when they try to infiltrate, so that they are very peaceful. So it depends on how we work on the Dhamma. No, the people who do not know anything about Dhamma would not be able to even to understand the importance of sense restraint. So I think having understood the importance of sense restraint, we should do it more and more. And meditation, at least for a couple of minutes every day, gives you some taste on this. And reading on discourses and how monks and nuns and lay people in the past, get out of this problem with sense restraint should be investigated, right? I think, and Dhamma sharing and association of good friends, talking to somebody who doesn't disturb you with all these bad things would also be a good thing. A lot of people do not have such friends, but I think you have. So talk to them and read Dhamma books, and something like that could be applicable for many people to boost themselves into this training, sense restraint. So that is Chappana Sutta, the simile of the 6 animals. It is with regard to mindfulness training, particularly Kayagata Sati. It means you become mindful of the body. As we reiterate, just train your mind in order to feel it. Sometimes some people do not feel their training. It's just like you eat something and you don't feel the taste. You suppose you cooked your food, and with in a short period of time you eat it quickly and run away. After a couple of minutes, you do not even remember what you ate, and you do not remember the taste of it, and you do not know nothing. You do not know anything about it because you did it fast and unmindful. Some people do meditation and do Dhamma activities in such a speedy way, and they are unable to taste the meditation. But I suggest you to do it slowly, mindfully, no expectation on the results of it, but just do it so that you will feel that relaxation. Very important outcomes are there in the teaching, like you understand piti, before that pamojja. It's a very initial happiness in mind, and then you have piti, the advanced type of pleasant experience come into existence when things go right, then you feel your body is relaxed. So in meditation, we have to be smart to get those experiences, right? Then you never stop doing some meditation every day. And even by reading books, even by analyzing them in such a way, can get it after that, because you know how to get it. You know how to take your mind into that peaceful, happy, joyful experience. It's just like you have tasted the best food in the world, and once you taste it, you know the other foods are not that taste. So you experience samadhi where there is no trouble at all in your mind. So you, even without samadhi, you know the taste of samadhi. The sensual pleasures are nothing for you. You might enjoy sensual pleasures depending on the situation, but you know your mind says that this is inferior. The superior happiness is that happiness which I got when I was in meditation. So
It's
his mind always is going to experience it. Uh,
it's like the Nagara Sutra. Buddha talks about the food within the Truna Dhyana, like the water.
yeah,
Everything is in there, so you don't need to dip into the external senses anymore. With your self-sufficient within the city, within the mind, so you are enjoying food, medicine, water, everything is in there. So really not necessary to get out through the senses anymore. That's
yeah,
your self-sufficient.
indeed. Very good. That's true. Because you have gathered all these wonderful things within, so that you are not going to go out to enjoy anymore. You have something in within to enjoy, which is in the boundaries of wholesomeness. And yeah, that's true. When the Buddha, just before the Buddha attained full enlightenment, he thought that samadhi I attained as a young boy is really good, and it doesn't take anyone to sensual pleasures or any causes of samsara, so that it would be the path for enlightenment. So having seen the ecstasy of samadhi, uh, you can have it, but with understanding that they are impermanent. So as you said, you have so many things to rely on within, so that why do you go out to see things? That's why those noble individuals do not go into parties. I mean, you might go because you are in the society. However, you're not. It is an internal process. Nobody knows whether this man or this woman enjoy the party or not, like the other people. Even Sotapanna might go to a gathering and everybody else is singing, and this man or this woman might be sitting looking at look at those things. It doesn't mean that he or she enjoys those things like a layperson, like a normal average person. What I'm saying is that, as you said, he has or she has something within to enjoy, and they are in the framework of noble teaching. Nothing harm happen. However, those individuals who have so many things inside never wants to stay there longer, because if they stay with only one thing, they are going to, I think, decrease their level of ecstasy and peace, and because they are still conditional state. I'm talking about samadhi. So they are trying to get into those pala level, so tapanna, sakadagami, anagami, arahant, because they are the secured places. They are the irreversible state of mind that one could get into in terms of secure the mind completely. Thank you for saying that. And if there is nothing to add, we are happy to end today's sutta discussion. The sutta we selected is Chappana Sutta. It is in connected discourses of the Buddha, simile of the 6 animals, remembered 6 animals and how they tied together, and then two incidents are there. They are tied with rope, and at the end of the each rope tied together, so that the strongest animal has the chance of taking the other animals towards its inhabitants. And it symbolizes that when the senses become stronger, either sense, so the mind goes towards it, either eyes or nose or whatever it is. And the second time, the simile comes with 6 animals, and they are tied to a pillar or rope, post, and they are restrained. And the rope here is mindfulness. The rope of mindfulness, and the pillar also are the important part of the simile when it comes to Dhamma. Mindfulness or awareness or sati or sampajanya, yoniso manasikara plays a significant role in sense restraint. And if you have guarded your senses in such a manner, using those ropes in the noble training, you are going to have a pleasant abiding here and now. So that's what the sutta says, and it does not expecting just a mere happiness, but it could lead you to full enlightenment, arahantship one day, with the completion of both samatha and also vipassana. So it's a very important discourse. If you want to read the other discourses, most of them are coming to us as similes. Go to Samyutta Nikaya and type Salayatana Samyutta and ask Visopam Vagga. So that's all for today. And thank you for listening. And thank you for your contribution with questions and also explanations. And thank you for listening carefully to absorb the Dhamma. May you all be well, happy, and peaceful. May be able to complete your training on senses, so that may be able to experience samadhi, and also development of panya could happen to you sooner than later, and may you be one of the enlightened beings soon. With that wish in mind, I remain here. We may be we are meeting after Sinhala New Year. Today is April 9th, and the next Saturday would be April 15. So I wish you a very happy and prosperous Sri Lankan New Year, and may be able to cultivate kindness, compassion, generosity, friendship, and other important qualities for your benefits and everybody else in the family, in the society. And if you are a employer or employee, try to share your good thoughts and make a great wish that may all Sri Lankans in Sri Lanka and elsewhere in the world be well, happy, and peaceful. Not only the Sri Lankans, everybody else in the world be peaceful. Those who have greedy minds and other unwholesomeness in their mind, may they be able to cleanse their mind from those impure thoughts, and may those leaders of the world have compassion for people and turn their principles into peaceful one, and may the entire world be peaceful, happy, and relaxed. This is for your new year, and may you be well, happy, and peaceful. Thanks for joining with us tonight.